So how do y'all feel about Beyonce dipping her toe into house music? I know it kind of came from left field. A lot of people were like, oh, is she piggybacking off of Drake? What were you guys' initial reaction knowing that she was going to do house dance?
I didn't think she was doing it. I felt like Drake, having worked on her album, jumped in front of her. Mm-hmm. And I think he knew, mm-hmm. and I love Drake down. I think he knew that album was good, but he didn't have the vocal performance to pull it off. He needed some features. But I think he jumped ahead of her. He knew it was coming. Being a DJ and like being out in the scene, I wasn't surprised at all because house is making its rounds. So it was like Beyonce is just right on time. Her team definitely, anything they thought of or came together to inspire this, like they were already locked in on the streets.
Yeah.
I thought she was right on time.
And see, for me, and this is what I love about Beyonce, and this is what I feel like we all kind of love, she really created like around her artistry, an element of surprise. And so honestly, I've been a Beehive member, and I want to address this because I've been a Beehive member since Beyonce Live in Wembley. Okay, let's correct that a bit. Not the Beyonce experience, Beyonce Live in Wembley, she was coming down, from the ceiling, okay, and landing on the couch, oh baby boy. Yeah. And so Beyonce has really done an amazing job with creating an element of surprise, even as a true Beehive member, a true fan. And so I was excited when I heard Break My Soul, because I'm like, oh, is this the sound that we're going with the album? But I was still shocked at how really house, driven this album was, how much of that house sound it had, especially coming from Chicago. I see a lot of Chicago house music in this album. I hear a lot of it. And I'm like, oh, yes. And so I was really shocked. I really was, but I was excited and I was grateful for it. And I agree with you 100%. When Drake did, I felt like honestly it was a slap in the face.
For some reason, I think that he did warm up our palates to it. I think a lot of people weren't used to seeing a mainstream artist like that have a full house dance sort of album. And I don't know if people would have been as open to Beyonce's if Drake didn't do that first. And I just always feel like they have a very little sister, big bro, or big sis, little bro sort of dynamic to them. They frequently work together. And he wrote Heated, or he was one of the writers on Heated. So for some reason, I think that she was kind of aware of the fact that he was going to drop, and he kind of did warm up our palates to it. Because even when Drake first listened, I'm not gonna lie, I was talking shit. I was like, Drake, what is this? And then I had to listen to it in the right element, and I was like, oh, this is fire. This is a perfect album for the summer. And then Beyonce followed it up, and it was just took me away. I was just like, I couldn't even.
I'm sorry. Beyonce followed it up, just still don't sound right to me. I'm like, if we were going to do it right, let the queen usher in that sound, and then Drake, you follow, and then whoever else is going to follow. I just don't think that Drake should have been at the forefront of that, and I feel like it showed. I feel like he rushed out something because he knew the sound that she was going to give. He knew I done made these tracks and these songs, and then, they're good songs. I actually really do love the album, Drake. So this is not me really going in on you personally, Drake. You my boy. But I do feel like if we didn't hear that, it wouldn't have took people as long as it really did, honestly speaking, to get on the Renaissance wave. Because I know people who don't, particularly like that music. They all were like, that's what your mainstream artists are doing. Drake just did it, not Beyonce doing it. They don't really care. They're just trying to get some sales. And so when I really think in Beyonce case, I don't know about you, Drake, but in Beyonce case, I really felt like she was doing it for the artistry.
I'm gonna be real though, most of the great legends that have long-lasting careers at some point in the 15 to 20 mark, they do a house song. They do something like that. Celine Dion did it. Whitney Houston did it. So to me, I feel like they kind of just was following the pattern of a lot of greats that just come out with that type of sound, because I think it's so deep, rooted into Black culture that when you really study music and that's your job, eventually you're going to really, I don't know, see the value in that sort of sound. So I think I love Beyonce, but I do think we're giving her a little bit too much credit when it comes to, even Rihanna had a lot of house-ish type of music. Rihanna was doing it in the 2010s and stuff. I think we're giving her a little too much credit for this genre of music coming into the mainstream. I don't think that she's the first one to kind of usher in this sound. I think we're just the way she blended in Afro beats and pop was something that we never heard before. But just the house element on its own, this is something a lot of Black artists do at some point in their career.
I don't feel like the album is super house though.
Yeah.
She mixed so many different they did such a good job of just blending so many different genres. And just this is from someone who plays it from top to bottom and watches it. Like I don't, it doesn't all give me house. Like there's nothing house about like Church Girl to me.
Or Virgo's Groove.
Or Virgo's Groove. Like, well, Virgo's Groove gives me a little Donna Summer.
Okay.
Virgo's Groove does.
Summer Renaissance is a little Donna.
I feel every time that song comes on, I feel like glitter and sparkle.
Right.
But it's a perfect blend of
just a
pop,
everything.
R&B, Afrobeat, and house.
She did
everything. I don't think Drake tapped into like all those genres in his album. I think his sounds way more like a house album.
He gave me like two like more international house vibes too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
House
that's where
a little bit.
That's the first thing he did was go out of the country to go play his album too. He ain't played that album here yet. He went out of the country and was like, they gonna love this. What is it, Ibiza? How you say it?
Yeah, Ibiza.
That was the first place he went. Like, okay, we know who you made this for. He gets to travel.
He
so he knew.
The fact that he always is changing his sound makes me like forgive him. Like, you know what, Drake always, every year,
he gets away with
doing something new.
Yes, and some people hate that about him, but I honestly kind of like it about him.
I love it.
It gives like what's hot and fresh, like I was saying.
Yeah.
It's giving like I know B is coming out with a house music. Let me do some house music.
But
He's from Toronto though. You have to consider like his culture.
I feel like he knew.
He has a Black American father. He has a mother that's white. I don't know what ethnicity she is. And then he grew up in Toronto, where it's like a melting pot of so many different cultures. It makes sense why he talks the way he does and he does the accents, because have you heard people from Toronto?
Right.
Have y'all heard the Toronto accent? It's like a mixture of like a Jamaican and like a what's good shorty? Like, I don't know, like,
it's weird.
I don't know what the accent is, but so I feel like it makes sense why Drake kind of, I don't know, it seems like people of every culture love it when Drake, it's finally their turn and Drake does something in there, because he does it right. He's not gonna miss. He's not gonna make a bad song, you know? So.
And him and Beyonce move the same in the sense of that, because they go out and find what's hot in that time too. Like he introduced me to some UK rappers when he decided he was trying to do
his drill
sound,
thing.
You know?
Yeah.
And Beyonce will do that too. Like, well, let's get the people involved who are already doing this. So I'm actually getting the full experience of what I'm trying to sound like.
He's like,
I just want to go on record that the Lavelle show did not agree with anything that they said. I stand by what I said.
Well, I will say this. Sometimes when Drake gets too deep into a certain bag, it's like, all right, Drake.
All right, Drake.
You have fun.
Because he was really acting like he was from Houston on. I'm like, Drake, okay, now calm down now. But I mean, honestly, we don't really talk about it enough, but Drake is like a pop star too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he's super duper mainstream. Like anything he lands on, he makes it mainstream, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, but he's a chameleon, you know what I'm saying?
When it comes to music, I just do not talk bad about Drake or Beyonce. They're just, they have a soft spot in my heart. I love them.
They're at the top of their game.